What is up, everybody? Matt here, back again with another video for you. You know, the Grateful Dead were a fantastic live act, nobody's denying that. But we can't overlook their genius in the studio as well, which is why in today's video we're taking a look at their fourth studio album, Workingman's Dead. It was recorded at the Pacific High Recording Studio in San Francisco on February of 1970, and it was released in June of that year. This album was recorded in just 9 days, and that was because of Garcia coming in and saying, let's just record it and get it the hell out of the way. They were under enormous financial pressure because of the cost it took to record their previous album, and they were under even more stress because they were dealing with a recent drug bust in New Orleans that almost landed them all in jail. The cherry on this horrible sundae was the manager at the time was not letting them look at their finances, not letting them look at the books, which was, you know, a pretty bad sign. They quickly fired him soon afterwards. So Garcia would reflect on this time, you know, saying everything else was just garbage at the time, but recording this album was definitely a highlight. It was a good way to relax and just make some good art. Much of this album's success can be attributed to the new lyricist Robert Hunter, who came in with the band and gave the songwriting process a much more streamlined approach and also steered them in a much more folk direction. As many in the band and the fan base would reflect later on, this was definitely a turning point for the group, from psychedelic rock to a more folk rock direction. This was based around a style known as Bakersfield sound, which is kind of a mix between country, folk, and rock. The eccentricity of the group was not lost, however. It still remains in the imagery and the lyrics that are there. Featured heavily on this album is a steel guitar that Jerry Garcia purchased in Boulder, Colorado on tour the previous year. This album also features many vocal harmonies, and these were introduced to the band by Stephen Stills and David Crosby. Two major fan and commercial favorites off this record are Uncle John's Band and Casey Jones. The band had previously been playing Uncle John's Band throughout the tour of 1969 and finally decided to put it on the album. The song reflects kind of a nostalgia for the 60s, which were obviously on their way out, and a kind of cautious optimism about the incoming 70s. There are also many theories over who Uncle John is, ranging from John the Baptist to Jerry Garcia himself. It was incredibly long, so they didn't think it would get much radio airplay, so they trimmed it down to a 3-minute friendly version, although Garcia would later reflect that this was not a good version, and it was reflected in the airplay too because radio stations actually played the longer album version of it. It was a hit on radio and reached number 69 in the United States, and is one of the band's most frequently played tracks live. Casey Jones actually just began as a single lyric. Robert Hunter just wrote down the lyric, which was, "Driving that train, high on cocaine. Casey Jones, you better watch your speed." From that one particular lyric, Robert Hunter was able to expand it into the full song, and those two songs, Uncle John's Band and Casey Jones, got a lot of airplay on the radio. And a lot of people were getting to hear the Grateful Dead for the very first time, and it exposed them to a much, much larger audience. So it was very beneficial for the band and for the Deadhead community, because here come all these people that are like, wow, this is really great, and it just kept expanding and expanding from there. This album was so popular that the readers of Rolling Stone magazine actually voted it the best album of 1970. Wow. It was so popular it kind of spawned a sequel with the next record, American Beauty, which is another fantastic album as well. Think of Workingman's Dead and American Beauty as kind of like Volume 1 and Volume 2, kind of similar to what the Beatles did with Revolver and Rubber Soul. Fantastic album. Everybody should have it in their collection because it's not what you expect from the Grateful Dead in the best possible way. You know, when I first heard it, I was like, wow, this is really different, you know, but in a really good way. It's a fantastic album, and definitely one that, you know, has been on a lot of top 10 lists, a lot of best albums of all time lists, and, you know, rightfully so. I really dig this record, and I think you would too. So, that's all I have to say about the Grateful Dead's Workingman's Dead. I will see you guys next time, and again, thank you so much. If you like this video, give it a like, give it a share, and if you like my channel, subscribe. I'll have more stuff coming down the pipe soon. I will see you guys next time.